'cause I'm a true psychopath. When you're lost, take your trust. That's me. That's so sick. I'm a fraud, call me a liar. A true psycho. Ooh, I'm a fraud, call me a liar. A true psychopath, don't love me. When you're lost, take your trust. Yeah, that's me. Oh, that's me, that's me, that's me. Yes, I'm a fraud. Call me a liar. A true psychopath.
And Kai, when you're on Jen Lou's channel, what do you do with the like button?
Smash, smash, smash! Yeah.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So glad to see everybody. Let me just start out with two apologies. One to my girl Allie. I would never want to stream over you. I didn't even look at YouTube this morning. I am so sorry. I apologize, babe, and I greatly appreciate you rescheduling. And I will pay better attention for next time. I'm sorry. The second apology is to anybody who was waiting for me to go live last night with the recap. Let me explain what had happened. Okay. So after I got off the live with you guys, there was a lunch break, obviously, because that's why we stopped. And after the lunch break, they came back in to the courtroom, and there was something that there's a motion that Pryor had filed that he wanted to be heard on. And it has to do with text messages. But the way that they were speaking about it was so effing vague that I cannot figure out what text messages they are referring to. The bottom line is what Pryor wanted is he wanted something to do with these text messages sealed. And Judge Boyce said, no, because while the court does do sealings, I don't want to say it like that. While the court can and does seal things, motions, evidence, stuff like that, it's usually done, and this is what Judge Boyce explained, it's done, and in this case, it was done to prevent it getting out publicly in an effort to try and minimize how much the jury pool would be tainted. So they'd already had to change venues, right? They're in Ada County. But there was such a gap in the change of venue. Then Lori's trial occurred. Then the judge had to take away the death penalty from Lori, and that was not because of something the defense did. It was something that the state had done. They didn't do something in a time. They missed a deadline, and this was the only way to keep the trial on track because Lori had not waived her right to a speedy trial. And then, so that happened. Then they severed the trials. Then Lori's trial happened anyway. So the bottom line is, whatever these text messages are, the judge is not going to seal whatever it is that John Pryor was asking for. Okay. So there was that. And I listened to all of that, and I was going to recap that. But then, obviously, as trials do, they came back after the lunch break and testimony resumed. And one of the things that was played was the blessing, and you can't see me, but air quotes for real, that Chad Daybell gave to Alex Cox. And I have to be completely honest with you guys. Hearing that blessing is, and I don't even really like this word, but it's the only word that I can think of that adequately or sort of explains how I feel about that blessing. It's very triggering for me. The reason it's very triggering for me is it's not just the content of that blessing and what ended up ultimately happening. I mean, first of all, let me just say this. What kind of blessing are you giving somebody when and then they pass away, very shortly after? I don't think your blessing worked, okay? Number 1. But number 2, the cadence of that blessing is very similar to the blessing that was it's to the recording that was played during God, what is his name from the Warren Jeffs from the FLDS trial. The tone is very similar. It's real monotone like this and kind of creepy. And it just really reminds me of that. And I'll never forget hearing it. And when you hear it, something like that, and you understand what's actually taking place while that's being recorded, it sticks with you. It's like burned into my soul. It's one of those audios that I really, really wish that I could overwrite with new data, but for whatever reason, it's in my brain. And I just have a very difficult time listening to it and an even more difficult time discussing it because it's disgusting to me. And when you listen to that audio, in my opinion, the noises that are in the background, and you really can only hear them if you put on headphones, sounds like something else other than a blessing is going on, and I'm going to leave it at that. That's why it's so very reminiscent of that other audio that I mentioned earlier, and it's just really hard. I don't like to talk about it. It grosses me out. But I feel like I owe you guys an explanation because I did say that I would be live to recap, and then I just ghosted you guys. So that was very rude, and I apologize for that. But now that my apologies are done, let me go up here and say hello to you guys. Nadine, my boo, good morning. Good morning, sexy wild thing, sober McLovin, freaking claws. Good morning. Good morning, Music City Mom. Good morning, Petunia. Good morning, Adrian. Good morning, get me a snack. Let's see. Good morning, S. Hockett. Good morning, Cray Cray. Good morning, Claudia. So good to see everybody. Thank you guys all so much for being here. Good morning, Nature Rocks, Vanessa. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hello, Shamida. Good morning. Good morning, QRPB. Good to see you. Welcome in. Welcome in. Good morning, Ash Olive Loaf. Let's see. Good morning, A Million Sparkles. Good morning, Wolfie knows what you did last spring. Good morning, Kathy 4. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad you guys are here. Don't forget to give you Gary a thumbs up. Helps me in the algorithm, all the YouTube things. All right. So before court starts, we got about 15 minutes. I wanted to finish playing this video from inside the cop vehicle when the when they were on Chad Daybell's property searching and subsequently found JJ and Tylee's bodies. Oh, Jen, you have to add it to stream, you big dummy. All right. And I just want to talk about this a little bit. And I wanted to answer Cray Cray, who asked me if I thought they would call Lori Vallow to the stand. Anything is possible, right? And but here, this is where it gets a little tricky. So Lori and Chad are legally married. The marriage is legal. The marriage is valid as far as I understand it. And you cannot compel a spouse to testify against another spouse. So by compel, I mean serve the spouse with a subpoena. And see, subpoenas, that means you have to come. It's not a request, it's an order. There's no, it's not like an invitation where you have the option to RSVP, not RSVP, attend, not attend. It's not like that. It is a demand. It means get your ass to the court, okay, on this date at this time. And so you can't, in that regard, you cannot make her testify, right? Now, could she voluntarily testify? Sure. But remember, she is in her own appeals process currently, and she's awaiting trial in Arizona. So anything in a trial can happen, and I don't know what I don't know what's going to happen in this one. Anything is possible, but is it probable? I don't think so. Because if Pryor's defense is, look, Lori and Alex did this. Chad has nothing to do with nothing. And as far as Tammy goes, that was natural causes. She was sick and she just didn't tell people. Okay. That's basically the defense. What benefit would they get out of calling Lori to the stand? You think Lori's going to haul her cookies up there and say, I did it. It was me and Alex. No, she's not going to do that, because that would mess up her appeal. And then also, she's currently awaiting trial and facing charges in Arizona. So they would use that. They can use that testimony. So there would be no benefit to Lori, and not even to Chad, really, to get up there, because I mean, look what she said at her sentencing. She's like, JJ came to me and he's like all grown up now and he's got a job in heaven and he's, busy. And my friend Tammy, she's cool with all of it. I mean, she just, you know what I'm saying? So she's too unpredictable. And I just cannot imagine that they would do that. And also, Craig Carey asks, can you stream Quentin Simon's case? I am so mad about that one. I would be more than happy to stream that trial. If it's available to be streamed, I will stream it for you guys. I miss covering trials. This is really sort of how, other than like the West Memphis 3 and roast and stuff, this is really how my channel started. And this is what I like to do. So I'm glad to be back doing this. And so, yes, I will absolutely stream the trial. I will probably have to consult with my pal, my bud, my friend, my sister from another mister, Alex Erickson, because I know that she also has been following Quentin's case. She's one of the few creators, and there were a few. Melissa Jade shared a community or made a community post discussing Leilani going to court yesterday and then the time prior. Alex Erickson went live about it. So there are a few creators. Those are the only two that I can think of off the top of my head that have been invested from the very beginning and are invested in seeing where justice actually takes place, which is not on YouTube. It is in the courtroom. You know, not to get off on too much of a tangent, but I get incredibly frustrated watching the coverage of some of these open cases, because I don't think that the people discussing them understand or appreciate what they're actually impacting. So if you think about a case in terms of a marathon, all right, the beginning of the marathon obviously would be the investigation, and the finish line of the marathon is a conviction. And so if anything is messed up at the beginning of the race, at the beginning of the marathon, I shouldn't say race, at the beginning of the marathon, i.e., the investigation, where there's interference, where there's, anything, it makes getting to the finish line, which is the conviction, very, very difficult. And so it's very frustrating for me to watch creators inserting themselves into ongoing and open investigations because they want to see justice for Sebastian, in this case, Sebastian Rogers, right? They want to know what happened. Ideally, I would like to see Sebastian come home safe and sound, but should that not be the case, then, and even if he does come home safe and soundly, if anything happened in between and somebody, lured him, whatever the case may be, if there's going to be a trial, all of the shenanigans and the ridiculousness that are going on around that can impede and have a negative impact on the ultimate goal, which is to prosecute. So that's where I get incredibly irritated. And yeah, it's just annoying to me. It's unfortunate, and it frustrates the shit out of me. So yeah. I mean, anyway, okay. So today at 1 p.m., if you want an update on what happened in the courtroom at what am I thinking of? What happened in the courtroom yesterday with Leilani Simon and her trial, or her proceedings, pretrial proceedings. Alex Erickson will be live at 1 p.m. I hope that's is that Eastern or Central. Let me look really quick and see what time she's going to go live. Rock quick, because I don't want to. I might cut, if it is 1 p.m. Eastern and not 1 p.m. Central, making it 2 p.m. Eastern, what I will do is cut my live short at 1, just because I want to go and support Allie, and I want you guys to go and support Allie too. And I don't care what hang on, what the no, it's at 1 o'clock. Okay, so I'll cut the my stream off at 1 Eastern, and we'll all go over there and support her. And then I don't care what the testimony is today after lunch or whatever, I will, regardless, I will do a recap tonight. So, well, she on mine, Nay, I just went and looked at her channel, and it's scheduled for 1 p.m., which yeah, there you go. Okay, now we got it. All right, so that's what we will do. That will be the plan. Let's listen to a little bit of this from a couple of days ago, and we'll discuss it while we wait for court to commence. Here we go. Oh, wait, I got turned. closed captions on. Here we go.
arrest. Is that right?
Aside from placing him in handcuffs and detaining him, no,
But you didn't advise him of potential charges or anything like that at that point?
no,
And as far as you know, had any other law enforcement advised him of any specific charges that he may be facing?
not that I'm aware of, no.
Thank you.
And whatever Mark wants to do, he should stay with either you or.
Care of Mark, I'll take care of me. That's the card. I will, Dad. They'll take care of me. We'll take care of you the best we can. Sorry to interrupt.
So keep paying the mortgage out of the company.
Okay.
No, you can probably set it up though.
Okay.
I'm trying to, it's Wells Fargo. In that same pamphlet. The password.
I'll look,
But
but I've had a lot of success with mom stuff. Just saying, will you help me? My mom died. I'm pretty sure. Will you help me? My dad's in jail. Has the same.
it should be paid through July 1st.
Okay.
And I think the car is paid through July 15th. So you shouldn't have any bills to worry about. Yeah, I'm not coming back. So all that stuff that's in the baby room is Lori's and mine. The suitcases you'll see in the box. Just put it in the garage, I guess, after.
Sorry, see what happens.
You guys can, yeah, take that mattress from upstairs, I guess, that you want, put the books back on the shelf. We're gonna make it through. I'm glad we could talk. I'm glad they let you come over.
I started crying and Lieutenant Bell went, do you want to talk to him? And like, Nana, he said, he's just over there. It's like, oh, that changes things. You probably saw us out there.
Yeah, I was watching. So, hopefully things will slow down for you guys and get left alone. But yeah, they'll let you move out of there. You just get over here. You get gosh.
Well, I
Better.
would be moving soon. That's what the spirit was telling me, but I didn't know how it'll. I felt like I needed to learn more,
Hmm.
and now I get it.
So yeah, this is essentially the house, and
Hang on a minute. I want to back that part up because that really bothers. I want to hear exactly what she said.
for you guys get left alone. But yeah, they'll let you move out of there. You just get over here. You get gosh.
Well, I
Better.
would be moving soon. That's what the spirit was telling me, but I didn't know how it'll. I felt like I needed to learn more,
Hmm.
and now I get it.
Okay. So I find that so odd, but whatever. I mean, it's just I can't be thinking how I think. My mom had, I don't know, she had just moved into that apartment, so she probably had like 9 months left on her lease. There's no effing way I would move in where my mom passed away. Okay, and my mom died of a heart attack. Okay, she had the widowmaker, but it was hard for me because it was 6 hours away from where I lived. Well, not 6. That's not true. I think it was like 3.5 hours away from where I lived, where she was living. And we held her funeral and all that stuff like locally, but it was hard for me to stay one night, which was the night before her funeral, in that apartment. There's no way I would be moving in. I don't know. Maybe I would feel different if it was my childhood home or I'd grown up there. I don't know. I don't think it's anything nefarious or whatever, but I do think it's odd, whatever. And that she would, I don't know, these, whatever. Let me just keep playing because I'm going to say something that I'm probably going to regret. So let me just hush.
So yeah, this is essentially the house, and we'll talk to John Pryor about the financial arrangement, but you should be fine for a while.
I think long enough to get on our feet.
I have a lot in that account with the other attorney, so that will take care of me for a while. And maybe we just do a refinance on the house or a home equity loan.
Does it,
I don't think it's gonna break us. I think that might be an option there. I might need to authorize putting you on the
on the
mortgage.
account with you? And just probably leave Joe off it.
Yeah. Yeah, keep me on it with you. And
Do you have accounts like that when you're in jail?
I don't know.
I guess this is the part you get to get under someone else's accounts, really.
Well, it's technically Spring Creek Book Company's office, so you can, we'll manage it that way. And find a way.
Okay, I get why people feel some type of way. Okay, because I'm feeling some type of way right now. Here's the deal. Like, I'm going to try to be serious it's so close. There's like a roast on the tip of my tongue, but I'm going to try to like behave. I understand the need to have this discussion. Okay. I mean, you're going away, you're being arrested. You don't know what charges you're facing, but they just recovered remains of your current wife's children on your property. So it can't be good, right? And your ass is in handcuffs, so you're going to be charged with something related to that. I mean, I think that goes without saying. I think that's a reasonable train of thought, all right? But what is shocking to me is the lack of shock. If you, and I'm addressing Chad, not a general you, this is directly to this fool here. If you had nothing to do with this, no knowledge of it, right? You had no parts. This was Crazy Lori and her enforcer brother, Alex, that did all of these things, okay? I'm shocked at the lack of shock. Most people would be like, bruh, what the fuck? Okay? When this, if they had no part in it, right? Had no knowledge that the children's bodies were there at all, they would be in such a state of shock that the last effing thing they would be thinking about is mortgage payments, car payments. Lawyer makes sense. Okay, we're going to leave that one out. But mortgage payments, car payments, accounts, the $9,000 in 2 white envelopes in a drawer in Mark's room. Like, it's so out of the realm of reasonable line of thinking that I understand why the prosecutor asked about consciousness of guilt. I also okay, I get that you want to keep yourself controlled. Okay. So the way I control myself is I shut the fuck up. Because if I'm in a state like this and all of the thoughts are going through my brain, the ones that actually make it out of my mouth, I might have regrets. So I know for my own self, the best thing for me to do is just be quiet and not give anybody anything. And it freaking blows my mind the way that he is so subdued. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And I continue to be shocked every single time. I don't know that I'm ever going to get unshocked by Chad and his behavior. All right, let's keep going. By the way, I do have the feed for the court up and it's not muted. So as soon as it starts, I'll just switch tabs. Okay, here we go.
And you can send things through Amazon to the jail?
Yeah.
So like I couldn't send you a package, but Amazon, if I ordered it through there, it could get to you.
Yeah.
I'll only do that as you ask for stuff.
Lori would know the Amazon account.
I'll talk to her.
Yeah. Because I have like $265 or so in there as gift certificates. So don't pay.
Yeah, I won't.
We'll get it figured out. It's like Cholo 1105. James loves Elena at iCloud.com, I believe is the password. I don't know what they're going to do with the computers. You could probably, it wasn't part of the search warrant.
Are they, do you know, are they leaving the computers?
Well, they were in my bag. They were in the car.
With him.
They'll probably hold on to those and try to get it out.
Okay, but things that are currently in the house will likely be left.
I don't know what to do. Take that.
Okay.
But when we clear from here, whatever's in there.
It'll be left. Okay.
I talked to them and told them the bedrooms and to not mess it up. And they didn't seem like they were going to luminol at all.
Okay.
But yeah, get Garth and Beth moved. And you guys can.
Okay, I have to stop. I can't with this fool. First of all, let me just say this. I don't know anybody, and I have the most, the way that I a coping skill that I have is humor. Okay. When there's a very stressful situation, I will cope with humor. It's time. Sorry, you guys. Let me switch tabs. But I wouldn't be joking.
All right, good morning,
about,
everyone. We're on the record on
we don't need
case
to hear
CR
this part. Hold on a second.
22211623.
It would not, I don't, even as inappropriate as my humor is and my coping skill can be, there's no effing way that if they had just found my current wife's children's bodies in my freaking backyard, on my property anywhere. I know that Pryor is arguing semantics here about just how far away it was and blah, 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 whatever, as Letitia would say. But my goodness, I wouldn't be joking about effing luminol. For real, for real. All right, here we go. I'm going to push play and not talk anymore.
State of Idaho versus Chat Guy Daybell.
Also, welcome into everybody who's just joining. It's good to see you. Thank you all so very much for being here. Allie, I already apologized to you at the beginning of the live, but I don't think you were in here. I'm so sorry, babe. I did not see your stream. We're going to end the live at like 12:55 p.m. Eastern time here. So that we can go over to Alex Erickson's live covering the proceedings in the Leilani Simon case that occurred yesterday in court. I want to support my girl, and I also want to know what happened because I've been following that case. It's very important to me. I want to see it through till the end. So that is what we will be doing. If one of the mods would, por favor, share the link to Allie's live. I will pin it to the top so that we can all go over there when it is time. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Naima Boo. It's pinned, you guys. So if you don't see it pinned, leave the chat and come back in, and it should be pinned for you guys. But it's pinned.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bailiff. Please be seated. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you for returning today. The court notes all the jurors are here, present and accounted for and properly seated. The court's also received and reviewed a juror affirmation from each one of the 18 jurors indicating they have followed the court's admonishment to not investigate or look into the case over the break. So thank you for following that instruction again. I'll submit those admonishments to the court clerk. I will also indicate one other thing to the jury. As just after the jury was impaneled, I believe a question may have arisen about how it works having alternates, because there are 12 jurors who will ultimately determine the case. And of course, we have extra jurors just given the length of this trial. I'll note that the way alternates are the process is clearly defined under Idaho Criminal Rule 24. And I'll just read a portion of that to make it clear to you that says, at the conclusion of closing arguments, jurors exceeding the number required of a regular panel must be removed by lot. So in other words, there's a random drawing that would occur. So all of you must consider yourselves to be jurors in this evidence portion of the case. And if additional jurors remain once the case is submitted for deliberations, that would just be determined by a random draw, essentially, is what lot means. So I wanted to clarify that for the jurors so that someone didn't believe possibly they knew who the alternates would be or would not be. No one will know that until it's time to begin deliberations. So with that in mind, then the court would indicate the state is still in its opening argument at this, I'm sorry, in its case in chief with presenting evidence. And I understand the state was going to be calling Detective Considas as its next witness. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Wood, are you going to be examining the witness?
I will be.
All right, Mr. Wood, you can call your witness.
At the state calls Chuck Considas.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Right, Detective Considas, you've been sworn now. Before you begin testifying, I just want to inquire, this trial is being live streamed on the court's channel, and I wanted to inquire as to whether or not you have viewed any of the testimony or the trial proceedings before your testimony today.
Have not.
Okay, thank you for that. Mr. Wood, you can inquire on direct.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before I do, just briefly, I met with the court and counsel yesterday about some logistics for Detective Considas's testimony. And I spoke about having a copy of his exhibits with him. That copy right now is by my desk. I didn't want to put it up there until court started. And so I'd ask if the court and counsel are still all right with those logistics, that he be handed that box of exhibits.
All right, Mr. Pryor will note we did discuss that in a sidebar. There's a large volume of pages in these exhibits, and just the defense have any objection to those being available to the witness as we go through admissions of those exhibits? All right, there is no objection then. So Mr. Wood, if you'd like to go ahead and provide the witness with those exhibits. As each though is offered, just make sure to make a clear record of what's being proffered, and we'll go through whatever becomes admitted.
Detective, can you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Chuck Consaitis. The last name spelling is Kunsaitis.
What is your occupation?
I'm employed as a police officer at the city of Rexburg.
And what is your title?
I'm a detective sergeant in the investigations division
How long have you been a detective?
since 2011.
And what did you do prior to that?
I was in the patrol division and as an acting patrol supervisor at one point before moving to the investigations.
Are you post certified?
I am graduated post class 131.
And what is post?
It's the police academy.
And in your role as an officer, have you continued receiving training over the last or during your career?
Yes, I have. I've been education and training in drug and narcotics investigations, missing persons, death investigations, financial crimes.
Detective, how did you become involved in the case regarding Tylee Ryan, JJ Vallow, Tammy Daybell, and Chad Daybell?
In November 27th of 2019, I was aware that then Detective Hermosillo, who's now a lieutenant, he was conducting search warrants at 3 different locations at the Rock Creek Townhomes at 565 Pioneer Road. I believe the apartment numbers were 174, 175, and 107.
And did you aid in that search?
I was not a part of the original service of the warrants. I did show up on scene later in the afternoon and checked in with Detective Hermosillo and asked if I could be of any assistance.
On that day, did you obtain a search warrant for a storage unit?
I did. Detective Hermosillo had me walk through apartment 175 just to see if there's any evidentiary items of value that may have been missed. I located in the master bedroom of 175, which was the apartment that Lori Vallow was currently living in. There was a printer in the bedroom, and on the printer there was an invoice for a storage unit from the Self Storage Plus in Rexburg.
And so you obtained a
Oh,
warrant
yes,
for
I
that
obtained a
storage
warrant
unit.
for storage unit number C52.
And did you execute that warrant?
I did.
What did you find?
There was and there was a medium-sized unit, and there was only a bin, a tote bin with some items of like a baseball glove, some ice skates, some photo albums, and a couple of bicycles and a scooter. There wasn't a lot of content inside the storage unit.
All right. Detective, at any time in your investigation, did you have occasion to write a warrant for a PO box in Sugar City, Idaho?
I did. In late December of 2019, I got information from Gilbert Police Department in Arizona that Lori Vallow had a PO box in Sugar City, Idaho, just outside Rexburg.
And so you wrote a warrant for that.
I did.
Did you execute it?
I did.
What did you find in executing that warrant?
There was a large bundle of unopened mail, approximately 100 pieces or so. They were addressed to both Lori Vallow and her then husband, Charles Vallow, who was deceased and her brother Alex Cox.
All right. And going through that, did you find anything of interest to your investigation?
Yes, there were several pieces of mail that were from financial institutions. There was cell phone bills. There were letters from the IRS and Social Security Administration.
And based on what you found, did you obtain a warrant for any other mail?
Yes, around that same time, the owner of apartment 107 of the Rock Creek Townhomes, I believe his name is Stephen Cruz. He had contacted the police department and said there was some event.
Your Honor, I think it goes to the question of why he did what he did.
I'm just, well, in terms of what he said specifically, I'll sustain the objection as hearsay.
Detective, without saying what anybody else told you, did you write another warrant for mail?
Yes, there was some abandoned mail that was turned into the police department from apartment 107.
Based on what you found in those warrants for the mail, did you serve any other warrants or subpoenas?
Yes, we served several warrants and subpoenas to different financial institutions and the cellular device companies.
What was, you said financial records, correct?
Yes.
What was the purpose of obtaining financial records in your investigation?
Well, we're a missing person case, and so there's a lot of information you can glean from going through financial records. It's not just how much money is in the account. You can look through the account to see if it's a regularly used account, if it's a business account, a savings account. You also get a kind of a peek into the life on how people spend their money. If they're eating out a lot or if they are just paying bills, you can kind of get an understanding of how people go about their daily lives.
Detective, regarding Lori Vallow Daybell and Tylee Ryan, did you create a list of financial institutions upon which you served a warrant for aid in your testimony at this trial?
I did.
And did you do that in anticipation of testifying before this jury?
Yes.
Did you prepare that list to aid the jury in knowing which financial institutions you're speaking about and to help them keep track of them?
Yes,
Do you believe that demonstrative list would so aid the jury?
I do.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the witness be handed a look at State's Exhibit 62.
All right, is that one of the ones that's in the?
Yes.
Okay, Detective, if you want to locate Exhibit 62.
Detective, do you recognize that?
Yes, it's a financial account attribution list that I created.
Is this the same demonstrative list that we were just speaking about?
Yes,
And is it a true and accurate representation of what you created?
yes,
Your Honor, for demonstrative purposes, I'd ask that Exhibit 62 be entered into evidence.
Any objection?
And may I publish?
Yes, Exhibit 62 is admitted.
Detective, is there a pointer
yes.
there? Can you walk the jury through the accounts that you are going to be talking about?
Okay, so on this page, we're going to be, or just specifically for Lori Vallow, Daybell, and Tylee Ryan. Again, having served several subpoenas and warrants, we're looking through everything. We were able to narrow it down to these particular accounts that are pertinent to the investigation.
And I didn't realize that wasn't all showing. And so you had accounts for Tylee Ryan as well.
Yes.
All right.
Would you like me to go over them briefly?
Yes,
Or-
please.
Okay. So the top account there, it's a JP Chase Bank. It's a joint account with Charles Vallow, and the number on the end right over here is just the account number, just the last four. There was another account through JP Chase that was a joint account that Lori had with her daughter, Tylee. There was an additional JP Morgan Chase account that she shared with Charles Vallow. This was another kind of a business account. And then we learned that there was a personal account through the BBVA Compass account that Lori had created for herself. And then at a later time, she created a joint account with Tylee through the BBVA. And then the next are credit cards. There's a Barclays Hawaiian credit card joint account that Lori Vallow shared with Charles. And they were each issued a card, and you see Lori had a card 6611 and Charles had a card was 0991. There's a Barclays bank account, a credit card that we found that Alex, who's Lori's brother, had opened up an account and actually had Lori on as a card holder. And you see that Alex had two cards here, and then Lori had a card in the last four numbers in that card was 9259. We have an additional First Hawaiian Bank account that Lori had. And the last two we see here are Chase Southwest Air, the PFS marketing credit card. The PFS is a premier financial service. That was the business account that Charles Vallow had. He was an owner of this financial service. And then we had the National Life Insurance of the Southwest. Lori had a policy that she took out for personal reasons for $2 million. And just below that, the Tylee Ryan attributions, the same ones that were up on top under Lori's name, but we just put them under her name. So there's the JP Chase Morgan account, the 3918. This is an account she had while she was living in Arizona before they moved to Idaho. And then Lori opened up an account with Tylee when they got to just before they moved to Idaho. And Tylee was she had a Jeep Wrangler that Charles Vallow had purchased, and Tylee was making payments on. So we created that there.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the witness look at State's Exhibit 63. And 63 has several subparts.
Okay, make sure to identify those subparts then, and Detective Considas, you can locate that exhibit, please.
Thank you.
And Your Honor, I'd note for the record that 63 itself is a business record affidavit. And so this document comes in by way of stipulation.
All right, exhibit 63 then. Give me a moment, we'll take a look at that also. All right, so 63 is just the affidavit, not the attached records, which are subparts that are marked with letters in addition to 63. Is there any objection to the admission of 63, the affidavit? Very well. Exhibit 63 is admitted.
Thank you. Detective, can you look at, and may I, Your Honor, my understanding is that once that's admitted, all parts of this exhibit are admitted, and may I publish those?
Okay, and okay, so that would include then
63A through 63I.
okay, I've got through H. Maybe there's.
We'll make sure we get a copy of that.
Okay.
And then
well,
does council have a copy of it?
I have a courtesy copy up through 63H, but you're saying there's also an I?
Yes.
Okay, so exhibits 63A through I are also admitted then.
Thank you. Detective, will you look at what's been marked as State's Exhibit 63A? What is that?
This is a electronic signature card for the account of the JP Chase Morgan, the 0769 account.
What is the significance of that account to your investigation?
So we learned that this account was an everyday account that both Charles and Lori utilized while living in Arizona. And we know that with this account is specifically interacts with Tylee's joint account when they're moving monies, transferring monies from account to account.
All right. Can you look at State's Exhibit 63B? Do you know what that document is?
This is a sample monthly statement, sample of monthly statements from the 0769 account dating from June 10th through September, I believe, of 2019.
And this is the account ending in 0769, correct?
Correct.
And did you review all the documents that came in with that?
I did.
Mr. Wood, on that projector, there is actually a light that I think will remove the shadow. I can have staff attorney assist you with that if you'd like.
That'd be great. Thank you. Are there regular deposits into that account?
There's no regular deposits into this account. They're sporadic at times. They're coming in, monies are being transferred into this account from the 0377 account. But as far as having like a regular paycheck, having a direct deposit or something to that effect, there's nothing on like that on these accounts.
And just to clarify, this was at the jointly held account by Lori Vallow and Charles Vallow, correct?
Correct.
Detective, can you pull out what's been marked as State's Exhibit 63C? What is that document?
This is the signature card on the application for the account, joint account for Lori Vallow and Tylee Ryan, the account that ends in 3918.
And this is a
Chase Morgan. Correct.
account. And can you pull out what's been marked as 63D? What is that?
This is sampling of monthly statements from Tylee's account from January of 2019 through, I believe, November of 2019 or October 2019.
Okay. And was there anything significant about this document to you in your investigation?
Yes, it shows Tylee is very active on this account. She is spending money with her, she is receiving death benefit stipends in this account from her father, Joe Ryan, who passed away April 3rd of 2018. So Tylee was receiving death benefits, and the death benefits were regularly deposited into this account. And Tylee was very active in this account.
When you say active,
Well, she was out spending money almost on a daily basis. She was going to convenience stores, gas stations, shopping centers, fast food.
and you stated this is the account she was receiving her Social Security payments in.
Correct.
And were those monthly?
They were, they appeared towards the end of the month. Since she first started receiving her benefits June 14th of 2018, and they were regularly occurring into this account.
And do you know how much she received?
In 2019, she was receiving $1,859 a month.
Detective, as you go through these records, are you able to tell the difference between what I'm going to call a brick and mortar payment or store, like a physical location, and online payments?
Yes. Kylie, the overwhelming majority of her spending habits occur in brick and mortar type establishments. And there are some online payments, but she's out spending money in physical places.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 63E? What is that document?
This is the partial monthly statement showing from August 23 of 2019 through September 3rd of 2019 for Tylee's 3918 Chase Morgan account.
And what is the significance of that document to your investigation?
Well, it still shows through August, she is out actively spending money. And it also shows towards the end of the month. We look up on the screen here. So she's really active coming through here. And then when you get towards the 1st of September, and these, I just want to make a clarification here on this outside row. That's the posting date. Inside on the statement, you'll see a date of 9/1. So it shows Tylee moving from Arizona, heading north. And this is the same time frame when they were moving to Idaho. And when you get down to the bottom of the page here, it shows that her last in-person use of a card was done in St. George, Utah on the 1st. There were 2 purchases at a McDonald's that day.
And is St. George between
Oh, sorry.
Rexburg and Maricopa County?
Yes, I'm sorry for those that take it for granted. I'm sorry. St. George is one of the first cities you come to in Utah when you come up north out of Arizona as you're heading towards Idaho.
Was there any record of any money being deposited into that account after that date shown, the last date shown on that record?
No. So we had learned that in the middle of August, I believe it was August 16th, Lori, Tylee's mom, had contacted Social Security and had stopped having the monthly stipends deposited into Tylee's account. And she then switched those monies to be deposited into her own personal account, Lori's personal account from the BBVA. So there were no more funds coming into this account at all.
Detective, can you look at what's been marked as State's Exhibit 63F? What is that document?
This is the checking summary for the date of September 20th, 2019 for Tylee's JP Chase account. And it's showing a $10.04 balance, and then it shows right underneath on the beginning balance, it has an electronic withdrawal for the same $10.04, bringing the ending balance to zero.
Does it show where that money was transferred to?
That money was transferred into Lori's 0769 account from the JP Chase.
Was there anything significant about that transaction to you in your investigation?
Yes, Tylee had no more control over her monies in this account. And with the timeline that we had learned in this investigation of Tylee's last known sighting was between September 8th and September 9th. Lori had closed out this account there was no more use for it.
Detective, can you look at what's been marked as State's Exhibit 63G? And what is that document?
This would be it's an online administration tool for people who bank with JP Chase Morgan. They're issued a personal identification number, and they're allowed to go online and they can conduct their transactions. And this is the page that indicates for Lori Vallow. It sets up with her personal PIN number on Tylee's account. It shows that she can access Tylee's account.
And so did she and Tylee have separate identifying numbers?
They did.
Are they on that page?
They are. So if you look down to the middle of the page, well, we know it's Lori because she says Lori for style at iCloud.com right here. And it has Lori's name up here. But right here under personal ID and profile ID, it has a number. And the last four numbers on that are the 5132. So that's the number that's associated with Lori.
And is there a profile number for Tylee Ryan?
There is.
Can you point that out?
So if you were to go 2 more pages into this document, you'll see Tylee's name is highlighted up on top, and it has Tylee's email right there, TylieRyan24 at Gmail. And if you go down to the profile ID just underneath that, it has a number right here. And the last 4 on those are 0212.
And Detective, what's the significance of those identifying numbers? Does it aid you in your investigation to know those?
Sure, it's specific to the user. So we have a general idea that it's the person who's logging in is using it, and it leaves a digital footprint so you can see where they're going and what they're doing within the banking of their account.
So if Lori Vallow were to go online and make a change to that account, it would show that it was her by her identifying number. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And is the same accurate if Tylee Ryan were to go online and make a change? It would show her identifying number.
Yes.
Thank you.
If you were to go to the next page, This page here is dated September 20th. And as we previously spoke to the account closing on the 20th of September, if you look, if you could bring your, let's see. Okay, we're getting ready. No, bring it down just a little bit, please. There you go. Thank you. You'll see the profile ID number up here, the 5132, that's associated with Lori Vallow. And if you look to the bottom of the document, you'll see here on the left-hand side of the screen, you see the high school checking account belonging to Tylee, the 3918, and you see monies being transferred to, and here's the $10.04 that just shows that Lori went in and accessed Tylee's account and then moved monies over into her 0769 account, making it a zero balance.
And so just to clarify, Detective, you're able to verify that it was Lori that made that transaction by that identifying number.
Correct.
And what was that date again?
September 20th of 2019.
Detective, can you look at what's been marked as State's Exhibit 63H?
This is a checking summary showing a zero balance on Tylee Ryan's 3918 JP Chase Bank.
And what's the date on that? Or I should say, is there a date on that?
I'm not seeing a date on it, but it would be for anything after September 20th.
All right. And can you look at what's been marked as State's Exhibit 63I?
I is a signature card application page for JP Chase Morgan account for Charles Vallow and Lori Vallow for the 0377 account.
And did you obtain that through a warrant or subpoena?
I did.
Did you provide that to any other law enforcement agency to review?
I did. I have some knowledge of this account, but the primary reviewer of this account was Michael Douglas, FBI forensic accountant.
Mm-hmm. Detective, can you look at what's been marked as State's Exhibit 64A? Oh, bailiff, I apologize. This was the first page to 63. And Your Honor, I would just note for the record that State's Exhibit 64 is a business records affidavit, and that this document has subparts 64A through C. And to the state's understanding, this document comes in by way of stipulation.
All right, so 64 is admitted and 64 A, B, and C are also all admitted.
All right.
And they may be published, Mr. Wood.
Thank you. Detective, what are the documents from state's, excuse me, Exhibit 64?
These are summary of accounts for the BBVA Compass account ending in 3229 for Lori Vallow. It's a checking account that was opened in October of 2018.
Is Lori Vallow the sole user on this account?
She is.
And I believe you just said it was opened in October of 2018?
Correct. I believe the 20th.
And did you obtain this through a search warrant or through a subpoena?
I did.
And what was the significance of this account to your investigation?
What we learned through this account, that this would be one of Lori's main accounts where she would be receiving future Social Security monies. We know that Tally's monthly stipend was being deposited into this account and would later receive stipends for death benefits for Charles Vallow as well, for both her and JJ.
And can you look at 64B? And what is that?
This is a sample portion of monthly statements for Lori's 3229 BBVA account from August of 2019 through, I believe, January of 2020.
Detective, I want to call your attention to a deposit made on August 28th. Can you see that?
I can.
And what was that deposit? And if you can use a pointer to point it out to the jury.
So just below mid-page on the screen here, we see a credit for Social Security Treasury deposit for $1,859. This account this deposit is associated to Tylee Ryan. And we know from when multiple deposits are made into a banking account from Social Security, so if there's more than one person receiving monies, they're given special identifiers so you can see which deposits belong to which person. So if we look here at Tylee's, you see the reference and it has the X's, and then we see the 4121C1. So the 4121 is the last four numbers of Joe Ryan's Social Security number. His Social Security number is 146604121. And then the C1 is just it's a designated identifier for child. So it'd be Tylee being a child, a minor under 18, receiving death benefits from her biological father.
And that was the Joe Ryan.
Joe Ryan, correct.
Who you testified was deceased.
He was deceased. He died on April 3rd in 2018.
And so that's how you're able to identify that payment is assigned to Tylee Ryan, even though it's going into Lori Vallow's account at this point.
Correct.
And from your investigation, is this the first deposit of Social Security benefits for Tylee Ryan into this account?
Yes, this is the first deposit.
And where was Tylee Ryan receiving her Social Security benefits before that?
As stated, she was previously receiving them in her JP Chase account, which her mother has since closed out.
And again, what was the date of that deposit?
This was on August 28th of 2019.
And was there anything significant about that to you, about that date?
We learned that our investigation, we believe that Tylee was killed 10 days later.
I'm going to call your attention to a deposit made. It's on the third page of that document. A deposit made on September 18th. Are you able to locate that?
I am.
Can you, with your pointer, identify the deposits made on September 18th?
Yes, so there's two deposits made on that day. One in the amount of $3,902 and the second for $4,157. And you see them here towards the bottom of the page right here. They were deposits from the Social Security Administration, Treasury Department. And as you see the X's here, you have a different last four number, the 9801, and then you have a C1. And then on the next line down, you have the 9801E. So we can differentiate what deposit belongs to by looking at this top one here. We have the 9801. So Charles Vallow's social security number was 436029801. And we see the C1, so that would be for JJ. And that's the monies that were received. So we have the, and the next one down, we know it's for Lori because we have the 9801, but the letter E is just an identifier saying that she is the child in care or the guardian.
All right. And are those amounts, are those the regular monthly payments?
These are not. These are the initial installments that she received back pay for both when she generated her paperwork back in August.
And Detective, was there anything significant about that deposit date to you?
Yes.
What is that?
JJ was killed a few days later. On around the 22nd or 23rd.
Detective, you mentioned earlier that this account, this BBVA account, ending in 3229, received from August on all of the Social Security payments.
Yes,
And did you review this document for those payments?
I did.
Detective, did you prepare a chart, a demonstrative chart that shows all of Tylee Ryan's Social Security deposits?
I did.
Does that include both the JP Morgan account and BBVA account payments?
Yes,
Did you do that to aid this jury in understanding where and when those payments were made?
yes,
Does it label the banks to which the deposits were made?
it does.
And did you prepare that in anticipation of testifying today?
I did.
Do you believe it would aid the jury in understanding the deposit history for Tylee Ryan's Social Security? Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 84? Is that the document that we have been speaking about?
Yes,
And is that a true and accurate representation of the demonstrative chart you created?
yes,
Your Honor, I'd ask that for demonstrative purposes that State's Exhibit 84 be entered into evidence.
Any objection? All right, Exhibit 84 is admitted.
May I publish?
You may.
Detective, can you walk the jury through that chart?
sure. This chart depicts Tylee Ryan's Social Security benefits. It's the history of her timeline. So they're up in the upper left-hand corner. There's three different colors on this legend. So the first one, the purple colored, it's a Social Security benefit, was deposited into the joint JP Chase Morgan. So this was Tylee's first account, the 3918. And then we have on the second one, we have the benefit amount deposited into Lori's own personal account after we believe Tylee was killed. And then we have one that has some hash marks on it, and that shows that it was deposited for that month. But since Tylee was alive, we discount both those months, but they're just showing that deposits were made.
All right. And are there other dates on that chart?
Yeah, so on the first line, we have the date of 4/3/18. That's when Joe Ryan, Tylee's father, died. And then Tylee begins receiving benefits on the 14th of June. You see the large sum there. It's for her back pay, for lack of a better analysis. And then she starts receiving regular deposits of $1,800. And then when 2019 comes around, she gets a percentage increase. So that's why it's at $1,859. And then as we go towards the end of the middle, we see on the screen here on July 11th of 2019, this is the day that Charles Vallow was killed. And then the deposits keep going. And then on the 12th, Lori contacted the Social Security Administration to change Tylee's benefits. I think earlier I stated the 16th, but it was the 12th, so I stand corrected on that. The deposits for Tylee into the BBVA account now, since she's no longer receiving them in the JP Morgan. And you see here on the 8th, that's the last proof of life we have for Tylee. We have nothing in our investigation has shown that she is living after this date. And then after, for the month of October, Lori's receiving Tylee's benefits directly into her personal account. And then as you see here on the bottom line here, on June 9th, we find Tylee at the defendant Chad Daybell's property.
Detective, similar to that chart, did you make a chart for JJ Vallow's survivor benefits and Lori Vallow's mother, child, and care benefits?
I did.
Did you make that in preparation for testifying today?
Yes.
And did you rely on the banking documents that you reviewed in making that chart?
Yes.
Can you look at State's Exhibit 85? Is State's Exhibit 85 the document, the chart for JJ we've been speaking of?
Yes.
And did you create that in anticipation of testifying before the jury?
Yes.
You believe it would aid the jury in understanding these financial transactions?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would ask that for demonstrative purposes only, that State's Exhibit 85 be entered into evidence.
Very well. No objection. So Exhibit 85 is admitted.
And may I publish?
You may.
Detective, can you describe how you made that chart?
Yes, this is a chart depicting JJ's and Lori's, or JJ's Social Security benefits that are going into Lori's BBVA account. Again, the legend on the upper left shows the benefit amount deposited for JJ. Underneath that, you see the color for the amount deposited for Lori. And then the hash mark box shows, but it's not included in the total amount of deposit because we believe JJ was alive for that month. So as we go through the chart here, as stated in July of 2011, I'm sorry, July 11th of 2019, Charles Vallow was killed in Arizona. Lori applies for benefits in August and starts receiving benefits in September. And this is their first deposit. And as stated earlier, this is not their regular deposit. It's for the back pay when she generated her paperwork to receive the benefits. And then very next box we see on 9/23, that's our last proof of life for JJ. And then you see the benefits being deposited in. They each were receiving $1,951 per month. So they received for September and then October. And then you look here on the last one, and then November 5th, this date is important to the investigation because that's the day that Lori Vallow became Mrs. Daybell and married Chad in Hawaii. JJ is still receiving benefits, as is Lori, all the way through to the end of the year and into January. And then the last box We have the 9th when we found JJ on Mr. Daybell's property.
And Detective, all of those social security payments, was it your testimony? Those went into Lori's sole BBVA account?
Correct. She had full control over it.
Detective, can you review or pull out State's Exhibit 65? In your honor, while he does that, State's 65 the Exhibit 65 itself is a business record affidavit with subparts A through D. Where this has a business record affidavit, State's understanding this comes in by way of stipulation.
Mr. Pryor, any objection to 65 and subparts A through D? All right, there is no objection then. Exhibit 65, the electronic business records affidavit is admitted. Exhibits 65A through D are also admitted.
Thank you. Detective, what is State's Exhibit 65 in general?
The entire exhibit is dealing with Tally Ryan's joint account that her mother opened for both of them to share for the BBVA, and they did that in August 19th of 2019.
All right. And can you look specifically at 65A? Are you familiar with that?
Yes,
What is that document?
this is a summary of accounts. It's the signature page for the application for the account of Tally Ryan that ends in the last 4 numbers of 5794. And both her and Lori are signers on it.
And that's through BBVA.
Correct.
When was this account opened?
The 19th of August 2019.
Can you look at State's Exhibit 65B? What is that?
This is a transaction history monthly statement of activity on Tylee's account for the BBVA.
And in your investigation, was there anything significant about this document?
Yeah, 2 things. So one, that Tylee was not receiving any more deposits into this account from Social Security where she was in JP Chase Morgan. So any deposits that come into this account are now coming from her mother through transactions within the bank. This particular page we see was created on 8/19, and for the first couple of days, as they are, traveling from Arizona on their move to Idaho, you see again where out here we have the date of the transaction, but after these post dates of 9/3, it just shows that this card was used in person only 3 times. And that was during their move from Arizona to Idaho. They were at 3 different places. One was in Fillmore, Utah, which is in southern Utah. And it was used at a convenience store. There was one that was used at a Maverick in Perry, Utah. Again, I believe that's still southern Utah. And then there was one that was used in the Wickiup, Arizona. I'm not familiar with geographically where that city is located in Arizona, but it was used on that date. And from there, everything else that we've learned with this account was done online, with the exception of two more dates one in September and one in October.
All right. Can you look at State's Exhibit 65C? And what is that document?
This is transaction history for Tylee's account, the 5794 BBVA from August 2019, I believe through November of 2019. I'm sorry, it goes through January of 2020.
Okay. And earlier we spoke about on Tyler's JP Chase Morgan account about spending between brick and mortar stores and online payments. What's the general nature on this account?
This activity is completely opposite of what Tylee was using on her JP Chase account. All the activity on this account is done online, with the exception of two dates, and you'll see on, I believe, September 17th, there was a transaction where it was used in person at a Costa Vida Mexican restaurant. And then there was another in-person transaction on October 25th, I believe. That was, I'm sorry, October 7th. And we believe that Tylee did not make those purchases in person.
In the mic, please, Mr. Pryor.
Judge, I'm going to object to that characterization. It calls for speculation.
I'll sustain the last part of the response there, striking the belief Tylee did not make the purchases in person. There's no foundation for that, Mr. Wood.
All right, I'll lay some foundation. Thank you. Detective, through your investigation in this case, were you involved in the search for Tylee Ryan?
Yes.
And are you aware of, through that search, of a last known sighting of Tylee Ryan?
Last known sighting of Tylee Ryan, I believe, was a photograph where she was in Yellowstone on the 8th of September, 2019.
And so these purchases that were made after that date, what was significant about those to you in this investigation?
Just complete opposite of anything that Tylee was doing up until this point. Everything is done online in this account. The monies are coming in from Lori's account to her personal account. She would send money, make deposits into Tylee's account, and then those monies would immediately be Venmoed out to, we learned, Colby Ryan, who is Lori's son.
And you spoke about two brick and mortar purchases,
Yes,
and I believe you said they were both at Costa Vida.
they're both at Costa Vida.
And ask you to look at State's Exhibit 65D.
Okay.
And what is State's Exhibit 65D?
The exhibit is a copy of the receipt that I obtained for a purchase with Tylee's account on the 17th of September of 2019.
Right.
It was an in-person purchase.
And on the third page of State's Exhibit 65D, what is that?
This is a Costa Vida receipt dated October 7th, 2019, that was used with Tylee's card associated with this account for an in-person purchase.
And so to clarify, Kylie, in that BBVA account, she never received Social Security payments there.
No.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 66? Do you recognize State's Exhibit 66?
This is affidavit of business records for Barclays Bank.
Okay. And Your Honor, for the record, this this exhibit does come in with a business records affidavit. It has subparts A through D. And with that business record, I believe it comes in by way of stipulation.
As to Exhibit 66, any objection?
And again, Judge, that was an agreement prior that this would be admitted by stipulation of the parties.
Okay, Exhibit 66 has been offered and is admitted, as well as the subparts 66A through D.
Thank you. Detective, do you recognize State's Exhibit 66A?
This is a Barclay Bank application for credit card. And it is in the name of Lori Vallow.
Is anyone else's name on there?
No.
All right. Do you know when this was applied for?
The application date was September 24th of 2015.
And can you look at application 524-71125?
This is the application for Barclays Bank credit card for Charles Vallow. And the application date is the same as the previous.
All right, thank you. And then application 5566-2600, what is that?
This is Barclays Bank application for a credit card in the name of Lori Vallow. The application date was April 19th of 2016.
So this was a joint credit card application, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Can you look at State's Exhibit 66B? What is that?
This is a monthly statement of transactions activity for the Barclays credit card belonging to Lori and Charles Vallow.
In your investigation, was there anything significant about the information you found on this page?
Yes, two things stand out. On the second line down for June 12th, we see a credit card payment to Valley of the Sun Mortuary in Chandler, Arizona. And this is the day after, if you recall, Charles Vallow was killed on July 11th of 2019. And the second date is all down to the bottom of the page here. So on July 20th, we see an airline ticket purchase for Legion Air in the name of Chad Daybell. And the airfare was round trip from Provo, Utah. The PVU is the acronym for Provo. And the IWA is Phoenix Mesa. And then round trip back to Provo.
Detective,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
You see on this page here too that you have purchase activity for Charles Vallow, and there is no transaction activity in July. And then you see that this card used by Lori Vallow that was issued to her, it was responsible for these transactions.
All right. And so the transaction for the payment for airfare for Chad Daybell was what date?
On July 21st, it was the purchase date. The July 20th was the post date.
And to your knowledge and investigation, was Chad Daybell married to Tammy Daybell at the time
He was.
that was purchased? Can you look at State's Exhibit 66C? And what is that document?
I have a Barclays MasterCard in the name of Alex Cox. And this is a monthly statement of transaction activity for this account.
And you had mentioned earlier that Alex had an account that he shared with his sister Lori. Is this that account?
It is.
How do you know that they shared it?
They each were assigned separate cards.
All right. Can you describe, or is there anything else of significance on this document to your investigation?
Yes, we have at the bottom of the page, we have airfare for Lori Vallow flying from Phoenix Mesa to Idaho Falls on a round trip, and that would be February 25th.
And is the Idaho Falls Airport the nearest airport to Chad Daybell's residence?
Yes.
And was there anything else of note on this page or this document?
No, on the next page.
Okay.
On this page, you're seeing purchases in the month of March on the Alexander Cox, Lori Vallow shared credit card account. You see purchase activity for Lori, and you see her card that ends in the number 5259. There are 3 purchases that she makes on this account that show that she bought airfare for Tylee Ryan and Tylee's friend Brianna Gill. And those purchases were made on March 13th, and they were round trip from Phoenix to LIH, which is, I believe it's pronounced Lahui, Hawaii, on the island of Kauai. And then directly under that, for March 14th, you see Lori using her card to pay for airfare for Chad Daybell, flying from Idaho Falls round trip to Phoenix Mesa and back to Idaho Falls.
And that was March 14th of
2019.
And so Charles Vallow was still alive at that point, to your knowledge, correct?
Correct.
Did you find any indication that Charles Vallow had a card on this account?
He did not.
And then Detective, would you look at State's Exhibit 66D? What is that document?
This is the application for a Barclays credit card in the name of Alex Cox, dated 9/26 of 2016.
And was this associated with the account we were just speaking of?
Yes.
Is there anything of note on that document to your investigation?
Are you talking about just this particular page?
Just in that document, is it just the
It's just the account information for
account information?
for Alex, yes.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 67? And your,
Sorry.
Your Honor, this Exhibit 67 has one subpart, just 67A, and it is Exhibit 67 is a business record affidavit, so I believe this comes in by way of stipulation.
All right.
That's correct.
Very well. By stipulation, the parties Exhibit 67 and Exhibit 67A are both admitted.
All right. Detective, are you familiar with State's Exhibit 67A?
I have some knowledge of it, and it's the account from First Hawaiian Bank for Lori Vallow.
And did you receive this through a warrant or subpoena?
I did.
Did you review this?
I was not the primary reviewer of this.
Did you provide this to another agency to review?
I did. I provided it to forensic accountant Michael Douglas of the FBI.
All right. Can you look at State's Exhibit 68? Do you have that?
Yes.
What is that?
This is a business record affidavit associated with Chrysler Capital Finance Company.
And Your Honor, this, again, State's Exhibit 68 is a business records affidavit, has one subpart 68A. I believe this comes in by way of stipulation.
That's correct, Judge.
All right, Exhibit 68 and 68A are both admitted.
Detective, are you familiar with State's Exhibit 68?
I am.
Or 68A?
Yes.
What is it?
This is a application for credit through Chrysler Financial for purchase. Charles Vallow made of a 2018 Jeep Wrangler that we associated with Tylee Ryan.
And are you familiar with the search for a Jeep in Rexburg, Idaho?
I am.
Is this that same Jeep?
It is.
Is there anything else in that document of note to your investigation?
Yes, that the payments would be made on automatic withdrawals through the account of Tylee Ryan's JP Chase account, the 3918 that she had her. This is the account that it had the stipends deposited into when she first opened that account.
Okay. Thank you. And Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 82? And Your Honor, again, 82 is an affidavit of a records custodian. Has one subpart 82A. I believe it comes in by way of stipulation.
That is correct, Judge.
Okay, Exhibit 82 and Exhibit 82A are both admitted.
Detective, what is the document found in State's Exhibit 82A?
The document is a rental application in the name of Lori Vallow for 565 Pioneer Road, number 107, the Rock Creek Townhomes in Rexburg, Idaho.
And have you reviewed this document?
I have.
Was there anything of note to your investigation on that document?
Yes, it shows that Lori did move from Arizona to Rexburg. And it shows that she is listed both JJ and Tylee to be living with her. And on the second page, you see here that.
If you're going to point something out, if you
Yes.
can point it with a.
Sorry. So her monthly rent from her previous residence in Arizona, she stated the reason for leaving. Lori writes, she is bringing children to attend BYUI My daughter graduated high school at 16 and wants to attend BYUI, but is too young to live alone, so I'm coming with her and relocating.
Okay.
And then below that, you see, as far as her income, she lists Social Security. So all of the Social Security benefits, Lori's claiming just as her sole income.
And was there an amount that she gave for that?
There was. So there's $5,740. And if you combined all three deposits, the one for Lori, the one for JJ and Tylee's, it arrives at this amount right here.
Thank you. Detective, we've been talking about Lori Vallow and Tylee Ryan's financial accounts. Did you review any other financial accounts as part of your investigation?
I did.
What other financial accounts did you review?
Reviewed the financial information for Alex Cox, Lori Vallow's brother.
Right. Earlier, you showed a document listing out Lori Vallow and Tylee Ryan's different accounts that you had prepared for demonstrative purposes. Did you prepare a similar account for Alex Cox's financial documents?
I did.
Did you do that to aid the jury in understanding which documents or which financial documents pertain to Alex Cox?
Yes,
And did you do that in preparation for your testimony?
I did.
Can you look at State's Exhibit 69? Is this the same demonstrative list that you've been speaking about?
Yes,
Your Honor, for demonstrative purposes only, I'd ask the state's, or is this a true and accurate representation of the list you created?
yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask that for demonstrative purposes only, that State's Exhibit 69 be entered into evidence.
There won't be an objection, Judge.
Okay, without objection, then Exhibit 69 is admitted.
May I publish?
You may.
Detective, can you describe for the jury what is on State's Exhibit 69?
So this is a financial account attribution list I created for Alex Cox as we were looking into the whereabouts of JJ and Tylee. We went through Alex's financial information, and this is the information that we narrowed down through reviews that are pertinent to the investigation. So you see here, the first one is the Desert Financial Credit Union. This was Alex's everyday account. He was receiving paychecks on a regular basis. He was very responsible in his account and his spending. He had a fairly decent, well, decent for me at least, sorry, but for as far as his account balance. So he was not reckless in any way in this account. You see the joint credit card that we just spoke to with Lori, and these are the cards that were associated with that. Alex also had a Mercury MasterCard, and he had a personal account from Wells Fargo, and from that he had 2 cards on Capital One credit cards. And then towards the end, after they moved to Idaho, he ended up opening up a account at the Mountain America Credit Union in Rexburg.
Thank you. And Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 70? And Your Honor, again, State's Exhibit 70 is an affidavit of a custodian of records. State's Exhibit 70 has 2 subparts, A and B. I believe it comes in by way of stipulation.
Any objection to the admission of 70 and 70A and B?
No, Judge, it comes in by way of stipulation of the parties.
All right, Exhibit 70 as well as 70A and B are all admitted.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 70A? And are you familiar with that document?
I am.
What is it?
It's a consumer loan application for a 2017 Ford F-150 pickup truck in the name of Alex Cox.
And did you review these documents as part of your investigation?
I have knowledge of them, but I was not the primary reviewer of those.
Okay. Did you provide those to another agency?
Yes. There is a second account that I did review on the next page, and it's a checking account application, then an account ending 7175 for Alex Cox, and that's his main everyday account. And I reviewed those documents.
All right. Was there anything of note to you that in that?
Yes, so as I stated earlier, Alex was very responsible, and he was very busy on this account. It would appear to be his everyday account. And he was making payments to his credit cards out of this account as well.
All right. Did those payments ever stop?
The payments did stop. So from this account, we learned that Alex had quit his job when he moved to Idaho. He was working for Heritage Environmental in Arizona, and he was receiving 2 to 3 paychecks a month. And at the end of August and beginning of September, he had quit that job and moved to Idaho. Just before he quit his job, he received a loan in the amount of $21,000 in August. I believe it was August 8th. And from then on, he had no income, no regular income, as he was not employed that we could tell.
All right. Is there anything of significance in terms of purchase history in these documents?
Yes, Alex begins to in August begins purchasing firearms and firearms related items with this account and the credit cards.
And you said in August, what year was that?
That's 2019.
All right. And is that purchase history different from the rest of this account?
Sorry, I don't understand your question.
The purchase history of firearms, is that something consistent through that account or just starting in August?
It just started in and around August.
You mentioned that he received a loan.
Yes.
Was there a reason listed for that?
Yes, on the loan application, it listed for medical reasons.
All right. And the amount of the loan was $21,000, correct?
21,000 that he received, yes.
Throughout your investigation, did you find any significant medical expenditures in his financial documents between the time of that loan and the time he died in December?
No.
All right. Can you look at State's Exhibit 70B? And what is that?
70B is just a list of monthly statements dated from 2/21 of 2019. I believe through November of 2019.
And is that were those the documents you were relying on for your most recent testimony?
Yes.
Okay. Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 71? And Your Honor, State's Exhibit 71 comes in by way of custodian of records affidavit. So I believe it's stipulated to, and just has one subpart A.
Any objection to the admission of 71 and 71A?
No, Judge.
Very well, 71 and 71A are both admitted.
Detective, do you recognize State's Exhibit 71?
Yes, it's the custodian of records.
Oh, and I'm sorry, can you look at States Exhibit 71A?
Yes, this is the loan application for through Lending Club for the $21,000 loan for
And-
Alice.
And was this the loan we were talking about for medical expenditures?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I have a brief sidebar?
Yes. All right, council, we just discussed some scheduling there. We are going to take a mid-morning break at this time. That will be a 30-minute break. We'll come back on and continue until noon, and we'll plan on taking our hour lunch at noon. And then as regular schedule, a mid-afternoon break after that, go till 3:30. Today will be our schedule moving forward. So at this time, we will take our mid-morning break.
All right, please. So just that's all.
Okay, so that was a little dry, obviously, because I mean, look, here's the deal. Finances are not particularly, juicy testimony, right? But there's some things that were of interesting note. And for that, I'm going to pop over really quickly to Nate Eaton's Twitter X, because he took excellent notes, and all the credit goes to to Nate on this. Okay, so hold on, let me scroll. Let's see. I can't pronounce his last name. The detective that was just on the stand says Alex was responsible on his main bank account and made payments to his credit card from this account. Alex worked in Arizona and got 2 to 3 paychecks a month. He quit his job when he moved to Idaho. Just before he quit his job, he got a loan for $21,000 on August 8th. He had no regular income after the move to Idaho because he didn't have a job, which I think is very telling. And here's why. Because while he had probably decent credit and was able to secure a $21,000 loan, he had no job. So I'm wondering if Alex had no intention of paying back that loan. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Let's see. Says he never found apparently Alex also began purchasing firearms in August 2019. He had not bought them before. And Wood asks if there was a reason listed for Alex getting the $21,000 loan, and Alex listed medical conditions. And the detective also said he never found any medical documents regarding Alex's health during this time, which I think is very, very, interesting. I absolutely adore Nate. So I think that his investment in this case and seeing it through to the end is admirable, really. And also, he was live on Sunday. And if you guys didn't catch that live over there on East Idaho News, I would really encourage you to check that out. And the reason I encourage you to check that out is because he talked a lot about Melanie Gibb, my friend Melanie Shebangs Gibb. And over the years, he's been asked a lot of questions about that interview. Like one of them was, why did he do that interview? And basically what Nate said was that she was a huge part of this case. And why wouldn't he do the interview? I mean, he said, and I agree with him. Listen, if Gibb called me tomorrow and said, Jen Lou, I'd like to come onto your channel and I'd like, to give you an interview. Yeah, I would take it. I would take it. I would absolutely take it. And I would, just like if Melanie P came on or Zulema, if any of them contacted, what person wouldn't take their interview? You know what I mean? If they agreed to do it. So I don't think there's anything negative. And I think actually the reason why I'm glad that Nate did it is because since I've always watched true crime, but covering true crime is different than just watching it. And I notice different things now that I'm covering true crime than I did when I was just a watcher of true crime. And one of the things that I notice is interview styles. And what I appreciated about Nate's interview style with Melanie G was that he was not aggressive in his questioning. The questions weren't aggressive. And even when he had to ask the hard questions, his tone was not aggressive. And I think that what that did is it put Mel G at ease, and he allowed her to just speak. And he didn't while he was listening to her responses, you could see that he was listening and not thinking of his next question. And he didn't rapid fire pepper her with questions. You know what I'm saying? And it just allowed her to relax, which allowed her to speak. And I am a firm believer in letting people speak. And so you learn, because I think you learn the most when you just let people say what they want to say, rather than try to control the interview and make sure that you get in the questions that you think the audience wants to ask. I think, or wants answers to. I think the best interviews are where the person being interviewed is just speaking. That there are a few follow-ups to some of to some of the things that they say, but then it's mainly just them speaking, because I think you learn a whole lot more like that. And I think he did an excellent job with that interview. She said some things I'm not so sure that if anybody else had interviewed her that she would have said. So I would absolutely encourage everybody just to revisit that interview, because it was amazing. So I think that I like the way that the state is doing this as far as the way they're presenting the case. I think they're doing it in a very methodical way, and it really reminds me of the way the state presented the evidence in the George W. Wagner IV trial in Ohio, the Pike County Massacre, because the evidence is a lot and it's very layered. And there are some parts of the evidence that are, you know exactly what it is and the connection. There are other pieces of evidence that are more subtle, and it's a little difficult to understand the connection. But I think that the state is doing a really excellent job of presenting the case in a way that I think that the jury is, you can see the way that they're trying to connect the dots. So I do appreciate this. I also think that I do distinctly remember the day that Melanie G took the stand in Lori's trial. And I feel like if she were in the vicinity of the courthouse, we would know, because while she was trying to maintain a low profile, she was wearing a whole gardening hat. Okay. Her outfit was ridiculous. And it wasn't like she was trying to blend. If that is the way she blends, girl, somebody needs to teach you what blending in means, because you stood out, ma'am. And I think that the way that they're going to lay out the case, I think that they're going to start bringing in the people that were a part of their inner circle a little bit later. I think they're going to try to get through a lot of this more subtle groundwork, laying foundation evidence before they get into the whole belief system, because that belief system is very, very complex, and it's very difficult for the average person to understand how Chad and Lori were able to get other people to buy into that belief system. I don't think it's terribly complicated for the prosecution to get the jury to accept that this was Chad and Lori's belief system. I think that it's much more difficult for people, for the average person, to understand how Chad and Lori were able to get other people to believe in their belief system. And I truly, truly believe that Lori and Chad would not have been successful convincing others of their belief system on their own. I think the thing that makes Chad and Lori together so dangerous is that there is one quality or trait, I should say, that I think they both possess that is dangerous. And that is their ability to be able to read what people need to hear and give that to them. And I think that although the way that they did it and went about it was very different, because their personalities are completely opposite. Lori is very vivacious and she's bubbly and she's, happy all the time and everything's great. Hey, sweet Melanie, all that, right? That's her personality. Where Chad's over here like Eeyore. Well, I'm just calling to find out how to make some arrangements. Like I wasn't a cemetery sexton for several years. I'm going to pretend like I don't know how this goes and ask questions. Do you know what I mean? That's his personality. But I think that type of personality worked well for him because he's very unassuming. And Lori was able to reel people in because I think that she had that sort of personality where she's very complimentary, but it doesn't come off as disingenuous. She sounds sincere when she says it, particularly because she's quite adept at saying what people need to hear. So she would, adapt her sales pitch. They both did. And then I believe that they would cahoot together. And if one of the people was feeling a little apprehensive or maybe had some doubts or whatnot, I do believe that Lori and Chad would cahoot and talk about it. And both of them would work on the person and their doubts. And I think that that's why they were able to do that. But that's a difficult concept to get to have the jury to understand. And the only way to really get them to understand that is to put the Melanies, the David Warwick, Zulema, those people on the stand. Because what's interesting to me, and I noticed this when when Nate was playing some of the clips from his interview with Mel G, while Melanie G is working really, really hard to outwardly convince people that she no longer believes in this and that she was always questioning it, and she always was sort of suspicious and sort of doubting all of this, right? She's working really hard to distance herself, but she also says some things that contradict that. And when I hear her speak a lot of times, and including last year in Lori's trial, it's, to me, seems like publicly she's like, oh, hell no, these people are nuts. I want no parts of this. I didn't believe it then, and I don't believe it now. And even if I had started to believe it at 1%, that 1% is gone. Honestly, to me, she actually comes off as she still believes. And the reason I say that is because when you listen to all of them testify, there are certain events where they were all present, and yet they all have almost the exact same lapse in memory. And to me, it rings false. You know, when Allie and I covered Gannon and when we covered Lori, very rarely did Allie and I both forget the same thing at the same time. Where I would forget something, Allie would remember it. And conversely, when I would, wait, how did I say, the other way around. When I forgot something, Allie would remember it. When Allie forgot something, I would remember it. It's very rare for two people to have the same lapse in memory where they just, I can't remember, you know? Particularly surrounding like something very big. Now, perhaps, like if we talk about the night that they were all over at Lori's to do the podcast, the last night that anybody saw JJ, okay? While in that moment, the night of, all the goings on may have seemed innocuous and mundane, and it was just a regular meeting for the podcast night or whatever. Something very significant did end up occurring, and they were all questioned about it. And so I find it very difficult that is a night that they all have the same gap in their memory. I just don't, you know, and to Ash's point and the rest of and I see, and to triple down, one, yes, that is the LDS religion is a very, high control religion. I agree with what you both said. And so they already had sort of a built-in not questioning audience. And, you know, which I think is important, and it does matter. It makes a difference. And I think that that's something that needs to be understood about it. Exactly. Triple down one. Excuse me. Oh, goodness. They're yada, yada, yada moments. They kind of all have them or at the same time surrounding a specific event. And I just find that to be so, you know, odd to me. And my other problem, and I've said this like 11 billion times, but I feel like it just bears repeating because I still struggle with this. I could understand in the beginning, before Charles Vallow, before he was killed, perhaps the group thinking that the term murder was metaphorical, or whatever word they used in place of that was metaphorical, not literal. But certainly after Charles Vallow's murder, I feel that should have been a huge wake-up call, a huge red flag, a huge alarm. Like, whoa, bruh, they were not speaking metaphorically. They're talking about literal unaliving. And so that's why I kind of am like, I can't, it just frustrates me that there haven't been more charges. I feel like they will come. I do. I really do think that what's happening is this. I think that for the rest of the people that may be facing charges and should be facing charges, in my opinion, I think that Arizona is going to let Idaho do and what they need to do and get done with the Daybells. And then I think what will end up happening is if anybody is going to be facing charges in Arizona, or, facing charges, it will come from Arizona, and that they're handling it. But I also have like accepted in my brain, no matter how much it irritates me or I think it's wrong, there's nothing that I can do about it other than say I'm irritated and feel that it's wrong. Even if there is no justice through the legal system for other people's roles and the parts that they played, because not doing something is doing something. Staying silent, not speaking is a statement. So I feel like if that is the case and there are no more charges, I do firmly believe in the universe and that the universe has a way of balancing things out and that it will happen in time, however the universe sees fit. And that's really all I can say, about that. And it just, I want to say, this is a good point, Kim. Kim says, Lori said accidental passings happen. Nothing was normal about what happened to JJ and Tylee, and you're 100% correct. And I also think there's something to be said with not only what actually happened to JJ and Tylee to take their lives, but what happened with their bodies after the fact. The way that the bodies were treated after the fact was very, very different. And I feel like I don't think that Alex could have buried JJ in the elaborate way that he was buried by himself. I think that would take knowledge of burying bodies. It's not something that I would think of. It's not something that I would understand. And I thought about this. I mean, I've been thinking about this, but when I watched Reporting Live from my couch or my sofa, and he was reading Chad's book about being a cemetery sexton, there are parts in that, in the chapters that he read, where Chad explains why certain things are done, like the vault, how a vault actually works. And I think I didn't know that. That isn't something that I think your average person would know. And so I think that, there's something to be said for that. And I'm curious what the state is going to do with that information. Yes, Debbie, the binding, the planks, all of those things. I think that came from Chad, and and also to triple double one, your point. How do you accidentally bury somebody? How do you accidentally bury two somebodies? So that definitely wasn't, on an accident, as it were. So I find it's so, all of it, accidental passings happen. Yeah. I mean, okay, Lori's not like wrong. That does happen. It just didn't happen in this case. And so for her it just is very indicative of Lori's thought process. And to be quite frank, I've been asked this a lot of times, and my opinion has never changed. I have been asked many, many times if I think that Lori Vallow still holds the belief system. And I have said many, many times, yes. And when she spoke at sentencing, that entire BS speech just really confirmed that to me. And I feel that not only does she still believe that way, but that because she believes that way, she is not likely going to aid in anything as far as testifying against or for anybody else. I do think that Lori and Chad both, frankly, are regard this as some sort of test, and that they are going to be martyred. And that's just my opinion about it. That's how I feel. I can't prove that, obviously. I mean, unless they come straight out and say that directly, then yeah, that would be different. But I think that I think that's the way that they think. And I think that just because Chad, through the advice of his attorney, has decided that the best approach to this defense is to present it as Lori and Alex were the cahooting cahooters. They're the only one, they did it all. And, he was just caught up in this great love affair he was having with Lori. And so he was bamboozled by her and didn't see all the red flags, blah, 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 blah. I don't believe that that's actually what Chad believes. I think that Lori is very well aware and accepting that Chad has to do what Chad has to do in defending himself. I don't think that she's taking it personally. And I think that they've both agreed that they'll be together again in the end. And so they don't really care what happens in the courtroom, because they'll always be together in that way. So, I don't actually think that Lori's thought process is like in the true psychiatric sense of the word, definition of the word delusion. I don't think it's delusion. I don't think it's an actual delusion. I think that she probably suffers from some type of mental health situation, maybe like bipolar or something like that. But I don't think that she is I don't think she suffers from like psychiatric delusions or psychosis or any of that. I think that if a person wants to, they can look at any reading material. It doesn't necessarily even have to be religious material. You can pull human beings, if they're determined to prove their point, they can find any reading material and twist it so that it substantiates what they're thinking. It doesn't necessarily even have to be like religious material, like a Bible or the Mormon Bible or any of that stuff, So I think that what Lori has done is read passages here and there, and the way that she is reading and interpreting them, they substantiate her thought process. That's how I think of it. I think it's very intentional, not, like actual delusions. I think that for me, the word I would use is more like a shared belief system. I think that they perceived things similarly. And I think that they questioned what the human experience is. I think their questions were similar. You know, I think that one thing that us as human beings kind of all share is after we are no longer on alive, what happens next? I think pretty much everybody who's ever, you know, that's alive has wondered that at one time or another. And why are we here? What are we meant to do? What's the point of it all? I think that's like common to the human experience. Animals don't think that way. Human beings are the only animal that actively fears death, like dogs, cats. I can assure you that instinctually, Nestor, Alice, and Mac will do things to keep themselves safe, but they don't think about what happens when I die. I wonder when I'm going to die. How will I die? You know, they don't think about that, but human beings do. And I think that what probably happened was they started, you know, to think about these things, ponder these things, and then they began to communicate together. And then they started looking into things and researching to try to get answers to these questions. And their thought processes were the same. And the way that they interpreted certain passages that they were reading, they interpreted them the same. And they, you know, so yeah. And this, what Nadie said. Manipulators have a certain skill of believing and communicating those beliefs that get to the more gullible, and they are very convincing. And part 2, and sometimes they're good enough to get the not so gullible. Yes, I agree 100%. I think what Lori and Chad were good at was exploiting, can't even talk, exploiting fears that are common to all human beings and to our human existence. We all question why are we here? What's the bigger purpose? What's next? And I think that they exploited those. I think they exploited people's questions,
Thank you.
fears,
Please be
and
seated.
concerns. We've got about 15 minutes. Well, maybe about, I'll go to 12:55. So like 11 minutes. And then I'm going to end the live, and we're going to go over to Alex Erickson's. I have her live pinned to the top. She's going to be going over what took place in the courtroom yesterday during the pretrial proceedings for Leilani Simon, who's charged with the murder of her son, Quentin. And so, yes. Thank you, Kim. I find my voice to be effing annoying. I can't stand my voice, but thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. Also, I'm not really good at taking compliments. It would have just been easier for me to say, well, thank you, Kim. I appreciate that. That was really sweet of you to say. Instead, I have to make it awkward. That's part of my human existence. And now you can all share in it. Absolutely, MJ. Justice for Quentin. Absolutely. Which takes place in the courtroom, not out in front of where his mom lived, screaming at her home. Just on a side note, because they've decided to put Chad in the dark where his ass needs to be, you get a really good view of the sky. And I love the change in the color of the sky as we go from like winter into spring into summer, the blue. and it's beautiful. And that the sky today is really beautiful out there in Idaho. I think the thing that Lori and Chad had in common that they shared is they both wanted to be something much more than they were. And so
We don't have anything today on Zoom either.
by
There's no Zoom hearing. But
them, they fed into each other's by them being, in charge of the recruiting and finding of the 144,000, that gave them a higher purpose and made them something so much more than they were before. And I think that was a huge part of it. Hey, Bieber, good to see you, babe. We're not going to be here for too much longer. Because I want us all to go over to Allie's, but I just want to see what's going to come up next before we do that. Yes, Ash.
Your Honor, the jury is present and accounted for.
Interestingly,
Mr.
that's
Bailiff. Please be seated.
the title of the new Joker film, the part 2 to the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. And
Okay, we're back on the
Lady
record
Gaga.
on KCR 2221-1623, State of Idaho versus Chad Guy Daybell. The state's continuing with its case in chief. Detective Considis is on the stand and has previously been sworn and is under oath. Continuing with direct examination, the court would also note we had previously turned the blinds down for better resolution on the monitor, but had requests from the jurors to have the windows open. And so they're open, and hopefully we get good enough resolution on the monitor to go forward. We'll still dim lights when we're showing exhibits. And if it's clear enough, I'm fine to have the windows remain open. So Mr. Wood, if you'd like to continue with direct, you can do that at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 72? And 72A? And Your Honor, I just represent, this is 72 is a business record affidavit and 72A is the one subpart. And I believe
Okay, so clearly they're just going to continue with the financials. So I'm just going to go ahead and end it here. That way it will give everybody an opportunity to do whatever they need to do for the next 10 minutes before Allie goes live and we can all get over there. But I definitely want to say thank you guys all so very much for being here. I appreciate it very, very much. And I will be live tonight at my usual time to do a recap of this afternoon's testimony. So please look for that. I don't even give a rat's fat kneecap what it is. I'm going to cover it because I promised that I would. And I miss talking to you guys that chill with me at night. So I will be doing that. And anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it. Y'all go over to Alex Erickson's. The link is pinned at the top for the live, and I will see all of you over there. Thank you guys for being here. I'll see you tonight, and have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye.